Hi, this is Grace Pamela with Summerana.com, and this is the preview and tutorial for the Everyday Workflow Essentials Photoshop Action Collection. So here I have a before and after that I did with the collection, and over here in my Actions panel I installed the Everyday Workflow Essentials. So first off, you want to read the instructions. So all you do is press play, and it'll give you all the instructions on layer mask and everything else that you'll need to know. And then you'll have the option of two quick essentials, quick base and quick retouch. In PS, it will play almost all the retouch workflow, and then PSE, almost all of them. Not all of them, because some of them need to flatten your image. So I'm going to go over to this image, and I'm not going to do an amazing job like this one, but I'm just going to really quick go over it. So in PSE 15, almost all the group layers work. They almost all work exactly the same. So I'm just going to go over more of it in PS, and then I'll go over it quickly in PSE. So first off, I'm going to go ahead and run the quick base workflow. Now this isn't as powerful just because I want it to be just a quick base, so you can go in and make it more, add more effects that you'd like. So here you have your group. You can adjust the opacity of the group layer, and you can also go down into the group layers individually and turn them off or turn them up. So I'm going to turn off lighten. I'm going to darken just a tad. And up here is where you adjust the opacity. And clicking the eye will turn it off or on. Here I'm going to grab my soft black paintbrush, and clicking the layer mask and painting on the image will erase the effect. So I don't really want any area sharpened except for her and the balloon and the ground. So you'll see it's black now because it's only showing up in the white part, the sharpening. The other thing you can do, you can click the layer mask and click Control or Command I. And then you use a white soft paintbrush and just paint over the areas you'd like sharpened. So again, this is just a really quick base workflow. I'm going to go ahead and flatten. And I'm going to go click the quick retouch workflow and press play. And here I have all of my layer mask options. They're all black so that way I can just easily paint in. So perfect porcelain, if I want to change the color of the skin, I would just double click this color picker box here and click a color on my subject or a color in the box area. And then I'm just going to zoom in and paint over the skin. Now I'm just really quick going over this. I'm just evening out her skin a bit. I'm going to add some rosy cheeks. And lips. She has no eyes right now. Highlight and contour. Define eyebrows. She has no teeth. Eyes. Awakening. Diminish flaws. This can be used for stray hairs, wrinkles, all you do, you'll want to select the area that says, the layer that says work on this layer, and then you'll want to select your healing brush tool. This is great for stray hairs and wrinkles and anything else that you could think of that you kind of just want to get rid of without ruining the texture in your image. So you want to hold down the Alt key at an area of your image where it's nice and clean, and then hold down the Alt key and then brush over the area you want to get rid of. And there we have a really quick retouch. So I'm going to go down and I'm going to play more with these layers here, and we can see how they work. Natural light. You can open up the group and switch off the layers that you don't want or adjust them completely. And brush on is the same exact thing, except it won't apply to your entire image. You can go in and brush it on wherever you like in your image. Same thing, dark overcast is darken. Reflector. This will kind of open up your shadows like a reflector would. And brush on reflector, same thing. You can do select areas, recover highlights. I'm actually going to go on to brush on recover highlights. And I'm going to select the areas of her dress. And a little of her arm. And if you can't really see it doing much, that's because it's on a very low setting. And then you can slowly bring it up. To see how it looks. So right now on her arm, it's a little too dark. I'm just going to bring it up just right there. And then I'm going to play it again. And then I'm just going to go over her dress. Right there is about as much as I can recover without it being a raw file. Okay. I'm going to go to luminance and add a little more brightness. Remove haze. You simply brush it over the areas where you might see some haze, and it kind of adds more depth. Light guide. This is how you use the light guide. You press play, continue, and then you'll have the light guide right here. You just click it on, and then you go to highlight details. This is dodging and burning. And here, the light guide will help you see where your shadows and your lights are. So your low lights and your highlights. So this will be able to help you. For example, let's go over her hair. And this is highlight details. So to add more depth to your image, you want to just brush over the highlights or the areas you want to highlight. And again, this is just a really quick example. We can use her hair as an example. Darken details, same thing, but go over the areas you want dark. And the light guide just kind of helps you see exactly where all the highlights and lowlights are. And then you can turn off your light guide. You can kind of see where we applied our highlights and lowlights. Kind of gives more detail to her hair. And then you can also use the light guide also for any other exposure essentials that you wish. It'll just help you if you like it. Everyday dodging and burning, this will automatically do a quick dodging and burning for you. It's very subtle. You can always turn it up. I'm just going to turn it up really quick so you can see it kind of selects the highlights for you. use her hair as an example. You can see the areas we went over as highlights. And the same thing with burning. Just turning it up as an example, you can see the low lights that are chosen. So it's just a quick auto burn. And you can also paint off the areas you don't want. There you go, we went over the exposure essentials. Now I'm going to go down into contrast. Everyday contrast, it's already got a lot of contrast, so I'm not going to add too much more here. Again, you can adjust the layers for the entire group, or you can go down and adjust each individual layer. On-track contrast is something just to make sure you're on track. Your face is a little dull, so it kind of brings it up a little. You can adjust that also. So here we have brush on color cast. This is actually one of my favorite tools to use. So for example, I'm going to choose a nice green. I'm just going to go over all the yellows and the reds. And again, it's not perfect, but it's a quick example. I'm going to play it again. I'm going to choose a nice brown color. I'm going to go over the tree trunks. I'm also going to go over here. I'm going to play it again for her hair. I'm going to go over her boots too. So you can see you can play with this kind of a lot for the different effects. That might be too bright. And I'm also going to play again, and you can adjust the levels in the blending modes also. So then you can kind of change the color. So you can neutralize reds. Make sure the red color is selected and select OK. It'll kind of neutralize any reds you have. Blues. There's a lot of blue in this image, it feels like. You can select blue and it would do its best to select the blues for you. Or you can go up to sampled colors, select your plus dropper tool, and then you can select all the areas to you that are kind of blue. Make sure your plus dropper is selected so you can select more than one area, and then press OK. And that way it'll kind of neutralize the blues. And you can adjust the opacity of the entire layer or each individual. And then also blue color blender. Again, select little circle, select blue, and you can adjust. Cyan, purple. I like to use the brush on for areas of like on skin or anything like that. There we go. Greens. There we go. You kind of see what you're adjusting here. Just a little more pop. Now, saturation checker I think is pretty important. You can see in some of the green areas it's a little too green. So you can go ahead and press play. And then you want to select on this layer just for now, just so you can see the areas that are oversaturated. And then click the tone down mask, select a white soft paintbrush, and you can paint over the areas that are just a little too bright. And you can go over this individually for each area, that way you can adjust the opacity, make it higher. Or you can just really quick do a smaller toning. And make sure you turn it off when you're finished. And you can, again, adjust the opacity however you like it. And then flatten when you're done. Remove chromatic aberrations. This is also really nice for areas that are oversaturated or actual aberrations from your lens. You just simply use a smaller paintbrush and paint over it. And you can go in and do this again and again and again until you get the desired effect. You can also adjust the opacity. So it makes it a little better. I'm going to go back up really quick to brush on color cast. Select an area of her skin. It doesn't quite match up, so I'm going to go select the color picker box and find an area of skin closer to the color. Deep blush is also one of my favorites. Kind of makes it a little more luscious, more of a magical look to it. And I'm just gonna erase it a little bit off of her. Here we go. Soft blur. It gives it, at full opacity, it gives it a nice lens blur. It's a very natural looking. Now you could either brush it on like this, or if you duplicate your background layer and select your plus mask tool, You can select your subject as best as you can. And it does not have to be perfect, because you can always go in, deselect areas. Disable your background layer so that you just have this layer. And then go to select a mask. And here you can kind of see your selection. Go click the plus tool up here. And you can kind of bring back a little bit of the details. And then you'll want to adjust the settings here to your liking. You can shift the edges a bit. You can also just click Smart Radius, and that might be your best bet. You want to do output to new layer with layer mask. Select OK. Now you have your area that you don't want blurry here on this layer, and the layer you're going to blur back here. I'm going to go to soft blur and skip duplicate current layer, and then just go to set current layer. Then press play. And then you'll want to turn on your background layer again. Use a soft white paintbrush, and then you can paint over your image now without affecting the layer that you just brought forward, this one right here. And then if you want to, you can lower the opacity, use a black soft paintbrush, and just kind of softly go around the edges a bit so you don't get the ring around it. You can kind of see which parts are blurry by turning off the layer you didn't want blurred. So now we have some blur without having to be too tedious about it. You can also adjust the layer, of course, the level of your blurriness. There we go. You can also do tilt shift blur. And again, just use a black soft paintbrush over the areas you don't want in it. Whatever you like. And also deep blur, which is a very heavy blur. For this one, you'll definitely want to use the other method that I showed you. And down into the light essentials. Soft spotlight. Sun flare. It's movable, so you can move it wherever you like. You can also change the color by double-clicking here, or just playing the actions below. You can resize and rotate by pulling it. You can change the perspective by dragging the corners out. It all depends where your sunlight might be, if it's shooting through the trees, or if it's coming from above. Press a check mark. Deep sun flare. Change color. Add more color. And you can also add in soft sunlight. Artistic matte. And here you can adjust the color, double clicking, and you can add more depth. You can adjust the level and the intensity. You can adjust it however you like. You can also brush it off certain areas. A little matting. You can also brush it on and play with any other actions that you like. In the artistic essentials, you have soft haze. You can choose any color you like for your haze and adjust the opacity. Brush on and black and white. In your workflow tool area, you can make new snapshots, add new layer mask, zoom in, put on screen, anything that kind of makes your workflow a little faster. Here's a quick before and after. We're really quick into PSE. Now I'm not going to go over everything because everything is pretty much the same, but there are a few that are a bit different. So quick clean base, quick retouch works the same. I'm going to show you the different tools really quick, where they are in PSE. So here is your healing brush that you need to select. You can go down here and you'll see spot healing and healing brush. You want to select the actual healing brush. You can select Alt on your keyboard and brush over the areas. Brush right over your blemishes. Just a quick example on how to do that. If you want to adjust the opacity of this, you can adjust the opacity of the entire group. But in PSE 11 through 14, you'll need to, it won't be in a group, so you'll need to adjust the opacity of each layer. Now you'll want them to be the exact same opacity. So to do that, you would just do 91, down here, also 91. So that way it's the same. That's the only thing different there. Skin soft is the exact same thing. It won't be in a group. You'll need to adjust each individual layer. And your brush is right here, and you can adjust the opacity of your brush here and go into brush settings, and you can adjust the hardness of your brush. You can also go to perfect porcelain for even more smoothing. Select the color on your subject. And you can adjust the opacity. And everything else works pretty much the same. Now, when creating custom catch lights, you'll want to use a hard brush for the best effect. So hard and a small brush. And you can kind of create catch lights that weren't there before. Detail clarity, deep blush. creamy lens blur or soft blur. Tilt shift does not work in PSE 14 and lower, unfortunately. Sun flare is pretty much the same. It is a little harder to move the sun flare here. So what I do is I just go out and then you can see the entire one, and you can move it by clicking the areas or the little corners. I don't know why it does that, but if you have trouble moving it, just zoom out and click the little arrow and then it lets you move it around wherever you like. Then click the green check mark here. So that's how you do that. I'm going to go down and show you in PSE the color blenders do not work because there is no color range, but the neutralizers do, so it's just as easy to adjust here. Now it says this is an adjustment that was created in full version of Photoshop, but just keep pressing OK and it will work just fine. You just can't click inside some of these layers to do it. Just a really quick show you how to use the actions there, and that is how you use them. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to contact us at any time. We are more than happy to help you with one-on-one help. You can also join our group and ask there. Everybody else is also more than willing to help. And I really appreciate you taking the time to watch, and have a great day.